Hi everybody, Nick Toy for the Top Winemaker. Something we haven't done in our little videos is have a look at our lab. We've got a beautiful little lab here set up in the winery, which is a real treat for a winery of our size. We essentially, mostly me actually, do all the lab work in-house here. There is obviously services out there we can send all your juice and wine samples out to be analysed, but obviously that's costly and it also takes time. We are now set up to do just about all the analysis that we really need to do in here in-house, which is fabulous. I had to go back to when I studied as mature age, go back and do a lot of chemistry because chemistry was not very high on my list of high achievements. So I've basically had to do a lot of refreshing of chemistry over the years in my role as well, which is all part of what we do. Lots of science involved, lots of art, lots of hard work. Few things that we do in here in the winery, some really basic stuff. We've also got a pH meter here which measures hydrogen ions, measuring acidity and alkalinity. This is our Fiano, 2019 Fiano, which has got a pH of 3.16, which is fabulous, where it should be. So that's basically showing some really nice tight acidity for white wine. I also use the pH meter to get probably a more definitive total acidity out of the wines too, which we use a method of titration, using a sodium hydroxide solution to titrate against the wine or the juice, and that gives a real definitive total acidity as well, which pH is a great measure, but it's also more a guide more than anything. Up here I've currently got the Fiano again, going through a testing for sulfur. So basically this here is a fabulous little apparatus which uses a colour indicator to show how much sulphur is in the wine. So obviously sulphur being a very necessary, well, for some people very necessary preservative to keep our wine stable. We use very, very minimal amounts of sulphur, so I do a lot of these because I'm analysing sulphur a lot to keep it at the lowest levels I possibly can in the wine to keep it stable. This one here measures free sulphur, which is very, very important for antibacterial activity, and this one here measures the bound sulphur or total sulphur in it as well, which basically requires some heating. It turns purple as the sulphur increases as well, and then I again use this wonderful titration thing here of sodium hydroxide again to get that back to a green colour, and that measures exactly how much sulphur it is. We then step it up to get real nerdy, where I put my glasses on for this one. I did have a lab coat, but I don't know where it's gone. This is wonderful machine here is a spectrophotometer. Sorry, my glasses are fogging up, so I'm going to take them off. This uses light waves to measure the absorption, of different coloured substances, and uses enzymes. Basically, it actually, I'm not explaining this very well, the scientists out there are going to bag me for it, but it basically uses enzymatic activity, and we use light waves to measure the differences of what that enzyme activity does. That's the best way I'm going to explain it. This one here, I was running a little analysis earlier today on 4 of our red wines to test it for the presence of malic acid, to see whether the red wines have gone through malolactic fermentation or not. So I use this wonderful machine here for basically 3 main reasons. One is to test the malolactic fermentation activity. Secondly, to test the total sugars in the wine or juice. And the third one I use it for is to test the yeast available nitrogen, especially in our juice. That's really, really important to show how much nitrogen is naturally out in our soil. And that shows then this here measures the availability of that for our yeast fermentations, because they require nitrogen to ferment properly. So we're on an aim out there at the moment to increase our natural nitrogen in the winery through specific cover crops, and we're analysing that each vintage to see if we're increasing enough, which is really nice. This thing here, as I said, has been a wonderful addition to our winery here. They don't come cheap, and I had to beg to get it here, but I'm really excited about it. The most important thing though that we do in the lab here, and the most important things that we use to do it, are essentially our palettes and our sensors. Lab trials and tasting trials, I do them all the time, and they would have to be the most important thing that we do here in the lab. So here I've got 4 different wines that I've just been doing some very, very minor acid adjustments to. They've just gone through fermentation. I like to do my acid additions as early as possible to get them, to let them settle and mature and let that acid integrate. Thankfully this year we're not actually adding very much acid at all. But basically you can come in here on any day and I might have 20 glasses set up. And the wines will have these tiny little incremental additions put in them in progressive order to then see, basically using my palate, my nose and my palate to taste them and find that sweet spot with the wine. So we can have all the best equipment in the world, but the best one is what's in my head at the moment. That's where we're at the moment. There's a little bit of a hiatus going on in the vineyard. We're waiting for leaf drop. We're waiting for the vines to lignify, getting ready for pruning. The vineyard looks spectacular at the moment with all the array of colours out there. We've got autumn in the Alpine Valleys. And I'm at the stage in the winery where I've been able to sort of lock up most of our wines. Everything's through fermentation, which is very pleasing. I actually managed to have a few days off, which is really nice as well to recover from vintage. And then, as I said, the focus very much becomes on laboratory work, and then we also then start looking at our next bottling, which will happen in a couple of months. So I'm looking at the last of the 2017 reds. So the cycle continues. We'll be back shortly, and we might do a little vineyard trip and have a look at how the vineyard's looking, getting ready for pruning. Thanks, and bye for now.